you told me I'm going to run 4.28. And then a month later, you run 4.28 at the combine. Like, you got it down to literally the 1/100th of a second. How on earth did you know that was going to be your exact time?
Honestly, going into pre-draft training, 4.28 was the number that was just in my head. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to set a goal and I'm going to just aim to reach that all throughout combine training. That's all I'm thinking about is run the 4.28, like getting that 4.28, put the extra work in to run the 4.28, take care of your body. So when I actually got to run a 4.28, man, that moment there was priceless. Before that rep, I texted my family group chat because they came to see me in Indiana. I texted them and I said, I'm going to run a 4.28 this next rep because I was not happy over that 4.3. I was
Yeah.
pissed. If I know I can do something, then I'm mad if I don't achieve that because it's like you knew you could do it and you left it out there. I wanted to make sure I left no regrets on the field. So I was like, man, run that 4.28, like get that. I was blessed enough to be able to really get that. So I'm truly just happy. I'm still happy from that.
Field Talk Podcast is brought to you by Rhoback. Pretty much every day I am sporting Rhoback head to toe because they have all the best offerings that you could possibly ever imagine. You want hats, you want quarter zips, you want polos, you want hoodies, you want outerwear like fleece or a jacket, you name it. It is all available over at Rhoback.com. Plus shorts, joggers, new mesh shorts. Every time I turn, there is more gear available. It is awesome. If you go over to Rhoback.com and enter my name, Field, you get 20% off your first order. That's Rhoback, RHOBACK.com. The promo code FIELD for your first order. There's fast, there's really fast, there's NFL fast, and then there is fastest player at the entire NFL combine fast. That is Max Hairston in 2025, the Kentucky cornerback who ran a 4.28 and had the entirety of Lucas Oil Stadium buzzing while he was going through at record pace, at least for this year's class. But while Max Hairston may be a name that everybody is talking about leading up to the 2025 NFL draft now, that wasn't always the case. He was a three-star recruit coming out of Michigan who had to redshirt his first year at Kentucky before he started to get meaningful playing time. So how did the guy who some call Mad Max go from a lesser recruited player to one of the stars in all of the SEC? He joins today's Field Talk podcast to tell us all about his journey. It is awesome to be joined by, for now, former Kentucky cornerback Max Hairston, but soon to be NFL cornerback Max Hairston. What is a day in the life of an NFL draft prospect for you right now?
Well, honestly, it depends on am I on the top 30 visit or is it just another day? As of lately, I just got back home actually from 3 days of top 30 visits. So it's been fun. Been long days, but honestly, it's a blessing to go through this process.
Yeah, and your process is going to work out very well for you. I can't wait to see where you end up in the draft. You and I had a conversation back at the Senior Bowl, which we kind of made it clear how I feel about you. But we're going to talk about you and your NFL future in just a little bit. But I want to look backwards here, Max, because right now, a lot of people talking about you. They've been talking about you because of your great career at Kentucky and also being the fastest player at the entire NFL Combine. One of the fastest players literally ever at the Combine. But there was a time in which maybe the whole world didn't know who Max Haristen was. You're a Michigan kid. Growing up, did you always know that you wanted to be or could become a big-time football player?
Well, honestly, growing up, I played football, basketball, and I ran track, but I really thought I was going to be a basketball player. Growing up, I used to do a lot of AAU, so I'm traveling around the country. Track, I was doing that, but not as much as basketball. Let's put it like that. And football, my junior year when I first started on varsity, I got my first scholarship, and that kind of was just like, okay, you just got one, and let's see how many more you can get. And I told my parents growing up that I was gonna go to college for free. So once I got that first scholarship, that was kind of like, okay, let's play ball.
So did you get any interest? I got to figure you got some track interest from colleges. How about basketball? Were you getting scholarships for all three sports, or was football the only one that actually led to scholarship offers for you?
Yeah, well, I've definitely had like some talks with basketball, but it's not a lot of people on those rosters, so scholarships can become a little stingier on the basketball side. But football, they started rolling in. Coaches were coming to my high school, pulling me from class to talk, so that was fun. Like that was a great process as well.
So you come from a very athletic family. Tell me a little bit about some of your relatives who have played either at the professional level or college level in a variety of different sports.
Yeah, so I had a cousin named Jalen Bannerman that actually played at Kentucky 2016 before I got there. I have another cousin that played at Michigan State. He's a linebacker. His name's Tawan Jones. He played for the New York Jets for about a year or so. And then I have another cousin who's played professional basketball in the NBA, but he also went to overseas and he's still staying in France. So I guess he loved it out there.
Can't blame him for that, right? I mean, France is a pretty good place to visit, I would imagine. Growing up, like, was that? Were you guys ever in the same place at the same time? Like, I could imagine either a backyard football game or like a pickup hoops game would be pretty competitive if you had all you in the same place.
Oh yeah, for sure. Honestly, I would go to like a lot of the Michigan State games when my cousin Tawan Jones was there. Get a chance to see the players. I was on his little list or whatever, and I didn't want no smoke with him growing up. He was a linebacker. He was much bigger than me, so I left that backyard football alone with him. But man, it was just good seeing him out there. I got to go to a Jets game as well to watch him. So like seeing people do it before me just gave me more motivation.
So you're I believe a 3-star recruit by some services coming out of Michigan, coming out of the state of Michigan, going to Kentucky. You mentioned you got your first scholarship offer, but at some point were you flooded with dozens of them? What was the recruiting process like for you?
Yeah, honestly, going into my senior year, when I kind of like made a name for myself junior year, man, they was rolling in. Like back to when I said they was coming to get me out of class and stuff, it would be like three coaches in one room, and then I get like an offer from all three of them. So going through that was like surreal. Like it's like wow, like my work is. That's when it first started to feel like it was paying off, and being able to earn all these scholarships was definitely a blessing, and it was a dream come true.
So you end up at Kentucky. What was the process that led you there? You mentioned you had a basketball background. Kentucky for a long time, and to many people has been known as a basketball school. But how'd you end up there playing for Coach Stoops and playing with that program that during your time had a lot of success, won a lot of football games?
Yeah, so I was getting recruited during COVID, so that was already like different. I didn't get a chance to take like no official visits or really any unofficial visits. So I kind of just had to go with a lot of Zoom calls, but really just go in my gut. And Kentucky, back before COVID, back when I was a freshman in high school, we would have showcases at my high school, and they was the first school to talk to me. They didn't offer me a scholarship at that point in time, but they were the first school to talk to me. So that always like just sat in the back of my head, and I always remembered that. And then my cousin being there, of course, like that helped. That was a big influence. But really, Coach Clinkscale, he showed a lot of effort with, still trying to see me and getting on the phone, and Coach Tubes getting on the phone with me. So like we built that relationship, without even having to meet each other. And, I just knew that was the place for me. I knew I wanted to play in the SEC. I didn't want to go too far from home, but I didn't want to be too close. Kentucky's about 5.5 hours, so it was perfect.
So you end up at Kentucky, and I know from watching you play that you've got a lot of confidence on the field. I'm imagining when you get to Kentucky, you're probably pretty confident in your own abilities. You end up redshirting that year. What's a redshirt year like for somebody who I'm sure believes that they have the goods to get out there on the field?
Well, going into the SEC, I knew I would have to be humble. I call the SEC the baby NFL. So I knew that coming in at 155, I might not have played my freshman year. So I spent that year just getting used to being in college, getting used to being away from my family, and just getting used to being with the freaks of nature that comes in the SEC. So just took that year, my freshman year, to just learn, be a sponge to the guys that's been there before me, and honestly get my body ready to prepare for the contact I'm gonna be able to take in the SEC.
So you eventually get on the field, but really the breakout year for you is 2023. So 2 seasons ago, you lead the SEC in interceptions, have a monster year. Did something happen, whether it was your body growing, whether it was your confidence growing, whatever it might have been from your redshirt freshman to your redshirt sophomore season that you think allowed that huge jump to take place?
What allowed that jump really was what I did, not only on the field but off the field. Get my body right. That was the biggest I ever got into, was about 195, and then allowing my film study to really allow me to play faster, not have to think, play with my head on fire, and then just taking advice from the guys that was there before me. Like the year prior to 2023, we had Keidron Smith and Carrington Valentine, two guys who are in the NFL right now. That was like I was kind of behind them, so I was just picking their head, seeing how Keidron would study, or seeing how CV looked at this receiver, at his splits and all that stuff. And I was able to apply that to my game 2023, and I got a chance to put that on display.
So there was a game in 2023 which you had two interceptions returned for a touchdown against Vanderbilt in the same game. Like, if you see a Vanderbilt fan on the street, do they run away from you? Like, they must have nightmares about seeing you right now.
Yeah, that was actually so funny because I did that in 2023, got two pick sixes against them. And when EA came out last season, then they actually posted a clip of receiver blurring me. So I actually found that really funny. I'm like, you guys know
Oh
what
man.
you're doing. So, but honestly, man, that was my first SEC start of the 2023 season. So that week was real personal to me. That was like you know, cool. We did the out of conference games, but now we're in conference. Like, man, show them who you are. So I studied so much that week. Like I knew that I was gonna more so be on the island, but I knew in zone, what type of quarterback we're playing against, what type of routes that they run, and I was able to play with my head on fire, and it led me to getting two pick sixes, which is crazy.
All right, so that would be so if that were me making my first start in the SEC, which it never would be if you saw me run, you'd know why. But my mindset might be more nervous than it is confident. Like, what allows you? Was it something? Was it the way you were raised? Was it a moment when you learned maybe the hard way how to be great? Like, what allows you to maintain that confidence? Because as I said earlier, like you can see it when you watch Max Hairston play football.
Yeah, honestly, so the year before 2023, when I was a redshirt freshman, we played Vandy in Lexington, and it was a very cold game. It started snowing during the game, and in the fourth quarter, when it was crunch time, Carrington that went down, and they put me in. Like they threw me. It's my first play. It's snowing, so this one I kind of had the little nervous, a little nervous. And first play, they came right at me. That was like a 40-yard completion. I felt like I got thrown by the receiver, but you can't look for no OPI calls at corner. So they got the 40-yard completion, ended up scoring on the next play, and they won that game. So honestly, I carried that into next season. And that's why I said them being my first SEC game of starting, I took that way personal. And then, growing up too, like my pops, he started off as a janitor at his job and worked his way up to a vice president. So he shows me that, if you just put the work in and put your head down and, you know, earn what you really want, like it pays off. So that's where I really get the drive from.
Yeah, it really see. I mean, it certainly has, right? I mean, you have this monster 2023 year. You're playing in the SEC. Like, again, you called it the baby NFL. Like, there's no better conference than that. But what goes into being like a ball hawk corner? Because like you find the football, you just do. Whether it's pass breakups, interceptions, pick sixes, like Max Hairston and the football are like you guys are a match made in heaven. What do you think allows you to do that? Is it instincts? Is it athleticism? Is it both? What might be the sort of secret sauce behind being a ball hawk?
Honestly, it's both. Having those intangibles, being able to get out my breaks fast, being able to track the ball. But it all starts from film study, knowing what to expect going into a game, being able to cross out certain routes because I know they don't do that out of certain information. That just allows me to play way faster. It lets me play with my head on fire. So now I can really trust what I see and be able to jump on anything.
There might be a young defensive back or just a young athlete who at some point watches or listens to this. Uh, how do you fall in love with the process of film study? Because for as great of an athlete as you are, and a lot of soon to be NFL players are as well, if it was as easy as being a great athlete, a lot more people would be qualified to do it than actually are. But did you have to fall in love with it? Was it something that you kind of always took to as a young football player? What was that like for you?
Well, honestly, I didn't really get into film study seriously until I kind of started learning from Keegan Smith in 2022. In high school, my coach would kind of give me you're on an island, guard the one, and that's that. So I didn't really have to necessarily watch film for high school. But even then, when I would go against like a highly recruited receiver, like a Belleville or something in the playoffs, I would take the time to, know who I'm going against. So I'm not just caught off guard by anything when I actually do play against them. But in college, just you got to fall in love with the film study because regardless of how athletic you are and how good you are, if you don't know what you're expecting, you can't go out there and play 110%. I want to be able to play with my head on fire. So I want to prepare myself as much as I possibly can before going into the game, just so I have an idea of what I'm gonna get.
So at Kentucky, I mentioned the two interceptions for a touchdown game against Vanderbilt. But if you think back to your career and the atmosphere, is there an atmosphere that you remember the most, or you're gonna forever cherish playing either at home against a certain team or on the road somewhere that you were like, that was just a little bit different?
Yeah, okay. So I got two moments for you. One was Texas from this past season. That atmosphere was insane. Like that was a beautiful stadium. It's humongous. There's a lot of people in there. And I just love playing in like the big games like that. Like that was that was probably the best experience. But from 2023, when we played at Louisville, our rivals, and beat them at home, that was a great feeling. Going into Louisville and then beating them at home, like those moments, I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that's a special one. It's like the Kentucky State Championship, right? Louisville and
Literally.
Kentucky. So you, by the way, that Texas game when you see a lot of Matt Golden, a lot of Isaiah Bond, guys who are going to be drafted high like yourself, and just a little bit here. That right there was like some heavyweights going toe to toe throughout that game. I really enjoyed watching that one. Um, so after the college football regular season, you make your way down to the Senior Bowl, which is where we first connected, and you have a great couple of days there, and then you and I are talking after one of the practices, and I said something to the effect of, "Hey, you're gonna run pretty fast at the combine here," and you told me I'm gonna run 4.28, and then a month later you run 4.28 at the combine. Like, how on earth did you know to the like? If you had told me 4.35 or 4.25 and you run 4.28, it's still impressive, but you got it down to literally the 1/100th of a second. How on earth did you know that was going to be your exact time?
Honestly, going into pre-draft training, like going into combine training, 428 was the number that was just in my head. Like I would pray on it, I would manifest it, but that was just always the number that was in my head. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna set a goal and I'm gonna just aim to reach that. So all throughout combine training, that's all I'm thinking about is run the 428, like getting that 428, put the extra work in to run the 428, take care of your body. So when I actually got to run a 428, man, that moment there was priceless. Like before that rep, I texted my family, our family group chat, because they came to see me in Indiana. I texted them and I said, I'm gonna run a 4.2. Like I'm gonna run a 4.28 this next rep. Cause I was not happy over that 4 point or the 4.3. I was
Yeah.
pissed. Yeah, I was not happy.
You would have been the second fastest player at the combine if you had only run 4.3 and you're pissed. Like that just tells you like that's the athlete mentality, right?
Yeah, that's honestly just a competitive nature in me coming out. Like if I know I can do something, then I'm mad if I don't achieve that because it's like you knew you could do it and you left it out there. So I wanted to make sure I left no regrets on the field. So I was like, man, run that 4.28, like get that. And I was blessed enough to be able to really get that. So I'm truly just happy. I'm still happy from that.
Yeah. So at the combine, I was up in the stands and they don't have like a stopwatch or even a graphic up on the screen, like on the big screen somewhere that tells you what the times are. So, I mean, listen, I have a general idea of what fast looks like versus slow, but you don't know specifically. However, when you ran and you're running, for those that didn't watch the combine on TV, you're running basically from one end zone to the other, and on the far end zones where all the fans were. Did you know, like when you finished, the fans were buzzing. That place was on fire after you finished. But did you know how fast you had run, or did you have a feeling about how fast the 4.28 actually was?
I had a feeling because when I ran the 4.3, the crowd was still like, they got into it. They were hyped. I'm like, okay, okay. But when I ran that second rep, they were even louder and it seemed like it was more. So I'm like, okay, must have did it. Must have did it right there.
Yeah. And then 4.28. I mean, that's the fastest guy in the entire combine. Like, had you like scouted the potential other fastest players at the combine before you actually arrived in Indianapolis?
Yeah, I had an idea of who like would be like the competition. Like I knew guarding like an Arian Smith, like an Isaiah Bond. I'm like, yeah, those guys are definitely gonna be somebody to look out for. But really, just when I was training for the combine, I would watch guys like Worthy or really any position just to see like you know what the strain looks like. They're finishing through the line. They're not pulling up right before they get to the 40. Like my mindset with that was to run from the end of the end zone to the other end of the end zone. Like run 100 yards. Like don't just strain.
Well, there were some of us. Again, I can't help myself sometimes. There were some of us that were already on the Max Harrison hype train. But has life changed for you? The draft. What you and I are having this conversation before the draft. Has life changed for you a little bit? Like, have you gotten more attention from fans, whether they're NFL fans, college football fans, since running the fastest 40 at the combine?
Yeah, like after I ran the 40 and the official time was out, like my phone was buzzing. And it still kind of is, but just taking it all in for real, like this is all just a blessing to me. Like I'm excited to be able to go through this process. You know, you only get to go through it once, so I'm taking my time, enjoying every day of it. Like, I'm my younger me would be so proud of me right now. So just being able to do that for the younger kid that was kind of doubted growing up, like it just feels amazing.
Yeah, well, it's very cool to see. And I don't think I would be asking you as many questions about the 40 if you weren't a great football player, too, right? Like, it's one thing to be fast, but you got to be fast and a great football player. And you're obviously that. So it is a cool thing to shine a light on right now. But again, as we're having this conversation, we're just a few weeks away from you being drafted very high in the NFL. You mentioned there's kind of two different days in the life, which is one, a pre draft visit. For those that don't know how these 30 visits work, each NFL team gets to invite 30 players. It's totally up to them. Some guys go on 10 of them, some guys go on none of them. But let's talk about a non visit day. So, what is a non visit day for you like right now?
So 9 day visit for me. First, I gotta eat up and eat breakfast. That's the most important meal of the day. But then midday, I'm either watching film or I'm getting on a Zoom with the coach or with my GA just to, keep myself sharp. But I'm really going to get, workout, condition, because I know as soon as I get drafted, that rookie mini camp's right around the corner. So I have to be ready for that. So and spending time with my family though, that's the most part. Like I've been away. I was training in Phoenix, so I was far from my family in Michigan. So now that I'm home, just being able to chill out with them, be around them, it's it's a good feeling in the Harrison household right now.
Did you grow up a Lions fan as a Michigan kid or no?
Yeah, I did. I grew up a Lions fan, through the bad years, to the good now. I've been with it all. The 0-16 seasons and everything.
Yeah, say, listen, people know if you're a Lions fan or you have been for a long time, you're nothing if you aren't loyal. I can imagine it's got to be a little surreal if you've had any interactions with the Lions, whether it was formally or informally at the combine or at the Senior Bowl or even on a 30 visit now. Like, that's got to be a little cool, right?
Definitely, definitely. And I got a chance to talk to a scout for the Lions at the Senior Bowl. We had a really good conversation. I had a Zoom meeting with them as well, so I got to talk to the DC and my position coach. Like now we're really well. I got a visit with them come April. It's an at-home like visit, so I'm excited for that. Be able to learn more about the Lions, man. Be able to see the guys that I've been watching growing up. So like that's an honor.
All right, so for those who don't know a whole lot about these 30 visits, again, you get 30 in total per team, and sometimes you might hear teams that bring in guys who are going to go late in the draft because they've got some questions about them. Sometimes they won't talk about the guys that are going to go real early, like Max, because they want to get to know him a little bit more as well. I'm sure not each one of them you've been on has been the exact same, but like generally speaking, what is a pre-draft visit like for a prospect?
Yeah, so a pre-draft visit, you're basically just meeting like the entire staff. It's basically like a day in the life of if you were on that team. So no, you start off, you eat breakfast, and then from that point on, you kind of just go in order on like just me and the staff, the head coach, the DC, special teams coordinator, your position coach, player personnel, the GM, like you're meeting everybody. And honestly, like that's been really fun. Just seeing all these great GMs, seeing all these great head coaches, like it's really crazy. Like I'm still trying to take it all in. And you do that. Some might have you like weigh in, get your height, all that stuff. You see the field, you get to walk around the practice field, see the weight rooms, the meeting rooms. Like, man, it's amazing. Like I've been having fun with my visits. I just started not too long ago, a couple days ago, and I got a lot more to look forward to. So I'm excited.
Yeah, a lot of teams will wait until kind of after the beginning portion of free agency to do these, just because, of course, free agency, they're very busy getting things done like signings and trades. All right, so as the fastest man at the combine, I got to ask you some fast related questions. Who do you think was the fastest player that you played against during your college career?
That's a good question. As a player I played against, probably I got three names for you. I either have to say Xavier Leggett from 2023, Arian Smith, and Isaiah Bond.
Isaiah Bond. That makes
Their
sense all the way
in-game
around.
speed is nice. Their in-game speed is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about those guys too, is like Leggett, I think ran like 4.39, but he's
Yeah,
big. He's like 200 and he was
like an
221
action. He looks like
pounds.
an action figure, man.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason why guys like that don't last real long in the draft, right? 220 pounds that run a 4.39 40.
It's almost not real.
Is there somebody in the NFL that you'd like to face off against specifically because of his speed?
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Do, do you think you could beat Tyreek Hill in a race right now? You can be
Woo!
honest.
You know, honestly, I like myself in that race. I still,
Okay.
yeah, I still haven't forgot about my pre-draft, mechanisms and the start and all that stuff. So I like me still.
That's true. That's like right now you're like in like 40-yard dash training mode still.
I'm in
That
track
like
star mode right now.
yeah. Yeah, and Tyreek, he hasn't lost much of a step, but he's been in the NFL for got to be close to a decade now. So you're not even there yet. So fresher, younger legs. All right, is
I catch him after a leg day or something.
I can imagine that. Is there a cornerback that you've modeled your game after, whether it's somebody that you grew up watching or somebody that you've watched more recently?
Well, I got a couple guys for that too. Somebody that I've kind of been really watching ever since I got to actually work out with him in person was JC Horn. Like, I got a chance to work out with him going into this season, and I got a chance to talk to him. Like, we built a relationship, and he kind of told me like, man, I'm going for that Pro Bowl and get a new contract, and he did everything he said he was gonna do. So like, that was just extra motivation there. I love watching Pat Surtain with like press technique. Very patient guy, get hands on, and then growing up. I was a Jalen Ramsey fan. Like when he was on the Jaguars, I was big Jalen Ramsey fan. Like the confidence that he plays with, man, it's amazing.
And still getting it done somehow is Jalen Ramsey, just a different uniform on his back these days. All right, so those are some guys that you modeled your game after. Is there a wide receiver? I know I asked you about because of speed, but is there a wide receiver that like you just think would be a fun player to match up either in the NFL right now or from when you were growing up? Like I would love to get a piece of Larry Fitzgerald or Jerry Rice or somebody like that.
You know, growing up a Lions fan, I honestly want to see how I would do against Megatron. That was something I grew up watching. He was a beast, like a beast. So I like guys like that. Julio Jones, another great that I would love to go against. But nowadays, I really have to say Justin Jefferson, like a Jamar Chase, like the best of the best. So I want to compete with them.
Yeah, those it's crazy still think that Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase were on the same team in
That's
college. Like
insane.
that's ridiculous to me every single time I think about it. Is there a NFL stadium that you most look forward to playing in one day?
Mercedes Benz.
Mercedes Benz? How come?
Yeah. Just because, that's where we play the SEC championship game at. And I always wanted to play there. So it's like, that's the one right there.
Okay, Mercedes Benz. And by the way, the Falcons, just if you're out there listening right now, you guys, I've been looking at your depth chart. You could use a little bit of cornerback help. Not that I'm the GM, but I have some suggestions for them if they're
You know?
listening. Yep. So you're from Michigan, so like you've played in the cold before, but is there like, and you mentioned the snow. Was it your first SEC game back as a freshman?
Yeah, like when we played that 2022 season, we played Vandy. It was closer to like the end of the season. It was like, I think it was our homecoming game. It was snowing. Like, woo! I'm out there, long sleeve, compressions, double long sleeves. I'm like, hold on, man.
Okay, so then I think I might have the answer to this next question. Would you rather play in like Miami in September when it's 95 and the humidity makes it feel 100, or when it's snowing at Lambeau Field in Green Bay in December and it's like 10 degrees?
Okay, I'm gonna mess you up with this one. I will honestly pick playing where the Packers play because a lot of guys don't want to play in that. And I'm the type where I know I'm about to play the entire game. Like I know I'm gonna be out there. I'm with no sleeves. I've just put Vaseline on my arm and then I just out there to make guys uncomfortable. Like they're gonna be cold, complaining about it. I'm gonna be like, man, this is nothing. I'm from Michigan, man. We played in the snow.
Hey, there are a bunch of people they're going to be watching this right now saying, "I want this guy on my team with that kind of mentality." All right, so as you think back to your journeys, we start to wrap up here. Again, I mentioned like you weren't this five-star who walked into Kentucky, and the minute you got there, they said, "All right, Max Hairston is starting, and he's playing day one." How would you've overcome a lot, and you've continued to persevere. This past year, you missed some time. You come back, you look like yourself and more at the Senior Bowl. How would you define your football journey only up until this point because there's a lot ahead?
Honestly, I just, you know, I like my path because I feel like I allow things to, make sense around me. I'm not the type of person like rush things. Like I truly just trust God and trust that He put me here for a reason and have faith in what He has planned for me. So I came into school knowing I wasn't gonna be a guy that played early. Sophomore year I was a backup. So it's like just being a guy that can learn from the people before me to when I do get my opportunity, I can make the most of it. Just staying patient for real though, and not rushing the process, but doing what I can do extra to help me, get out there to be able to show the coaches I can play. And, I feel like I did that.
There's only one process that you rush, which is running the 40-yard dash. Other than that, everything else is patient, right? But when you run the 40, we're cruising. I will end here, Max, and I really appreciate you joining the show here today. I've loved watching your football journey. But if you were to, we don't know what team you're going to play for yet, but let's imagine you're speaking to the team, the fan base that you're going to be drafted to in just a little bit here. What would your message be to the fans about the kind of player and person that they are getting in Max Hairston?
And I would say that they're getting, an amazing football player, but an amazing person as well. A locker room guy and somebody that's gonna give it their all, no matter what. Like I'm gonna empty the tank every game, every opportunity I get to be on the field. I'm gonna give it my all for my brothers, and I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna get cool with the teammates, and just be a sponge to the guys that's been there before me.
If that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. I really appreciate you, Max Hairston, from Kentucky for now, but soon to be an NFL player. Good luck over these next few weeks, and best of luck with wherever the NFL journey takes you. I can't wait to watch you on Sundays. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, if that doesn't make Mad Max Hairston a player that you want to see on the football field, I don't know what will. He certainly has an incredible energy about him, and I like the humility of a guy who goes to college and kind of acknowledges that he's going to have to learn and bide his time before he ends up becoming one of the best players in Kentucky's program in recent years. If you enjoyed this show, just a reminder, as always, that if you're listening on the audio version, wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe to that podcast. And if you're watching here on YouTube, you can also press the subscribe button so you never miss anything from the Field Talk podcast. And finally, of course, a huge thanks to Rhoback for making the Field Talk podcast possible. Head on over to rhoback.com for the best fit and the best feel. If you haven't yet ordered something from Rhoback, enter my name, Field, for 20% off your first order. Until next time, we'll talk to you all again soon here on the Field Talk podcast.